Top 3 Proverbs about the meaning of life. The full jar. Most valuable. Footprints in the sand. A full jar. The philosophy professor, standing in front of his audience, took a 5-liter glass jar and filled it with rocks, each at least 3 centimeters in diameter. Is the jar full? The professor asked the students. Yes, it was full, the students replied. Then he opened a bag of peas and poured its contents into a large jar, shaking it a little. The peas took up the empty space between the stones. Is the jar full? Once again the professor asked the students. Yes, it is full, they answered. Then he took a box filled with sand and poured it into the jar. Naturally, the sand took up all the empty space that existed and covered everything up. Once again, the professor asked the students if the jar was full. They answered, yes, and this time unequivocally, it was full. Then from under the table he took out a mug of water and poured it into the jar to the last drop, soaking up the sand. The students laughed. Now I want you to understand that the jar is your life. The rocks are the most important things in your life: your family, your health, your friends, your children, all the things you need to keep your life full even if everything else is lost. These are the things that have become important to you personally: your job, your home, your car. The sand is everything else, the little things. If you fill the jar with sand first, there will be no room left where the peas and stones can be placed. And also in your life, if you spend all your time and all your energy on the little things, there is no room left for the most important things. Do the things that bring you happiness, play with your children, spend time with your spouses, go out with friends. There will always be time to work, clean the house, fix and wash the car. Get your rocks first, that is, the most important things in life, set your priorities, the rest is just sand. Then the student raised her hand and asked the professor, what is the importance of water? The professor smiled. I'm glad you asked me that. I did it simply to prove to you that no matter how busy your life is, there is always some room for idleness. Most valuable. One man as a child was very friendly with an old neighbor. But time passed, college and hobbies came along, then work and personal life. Every minute the young man was busy, and he had no time to reminisce about the past, or even to be with his loved ones. One day he learned that a neighbor had died and suddenly he remembered, the old man had taught him a lot, trying to replace the boy's dead father. Feeling guilty, he came to the funeral. In the evening, after the burial, the man went into the deceased's empty house. Everything was as it had been many years before. Except that the small gold box, which, according to the old man, was the most valuable thing for him, had disappeared from the table. Thinking it had been taken by one of his few relatives, the man left the house. 2 weeks later, however, he received a package. When he saw his neighbor's name on it, the man flinched and opened the box. Inside was the same gold box. There was a gold pocket watch engraved with the words, "Thank you for the time you spent with me." And he realized that the most precious thing to the old man was the time he spent with his little friend. Since then, the man has tried to spend as much time as possible with his wife and son. Life is not measured by the number of breaths. It is measured by the number of moments that make us hold our breath. Time is flowing away from us every second. And it must be spent right now. Footprints in the sand, Christian parable. A man once had a dream. He dreamed that he was walking along a sandy shore and the Lord was beside him. At the end of each dream he saw 2 sets of footprints in the sand, one from his feet, the other from the feet of the Lord. When the last picture of his life flashed before him, he looked back at the footprints in the sand. He saw that often there was only one chain of footprints that stretched along his life's path. He also noticed that those were the hardest and most miserable times of his life. He was greatly grieved and began to ask the Lord, "Didn't you say to me, if I follow your way, you will not forsake me?" But I noticed that in the most difficult times of my life there was only one chain of footprints stretching across the sand. Why did you leave me when I needed you most? The Lord answered, "My sweet, sweet child. I love you and will never leave you." When there was sorrow and trials in your life, only one chain of footprints stretched along the road. For in those times I carried you in my arms. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.